Today's essay is day 21, and the title is How You Say It Matters. Remember when you went into labor, or if you adopted kids, remember the stories your mother and friends have told you about birth? Usually there's quite a bit of emotion, physical pain, anxiety, and apprehension. What if your husband or partner joined you during labor and said the following in a take charge, perhaps even coercive or condescending voice? Sweetheart, I know this is scary and hard, but you have got to get a grip. Millions of women for thousands of years have given birth to babies. You're no different. Now you get in there and have that baby. I don't want to hear another word of complaint from you. I've got things to do. And when I come back, I expect that baby to be here. Now get going. How would you feel? Would you be planning a call to your lawyer, considering ways to short sheet the bed? What if instead you heard these words delivered in a sympathetic voice? Sweetheart, I know this is scary and hard. I see you are in pain. Millions of women for thousands of years have given birth to babies, and they have all felt just like you do right now. The baby will come. All you have to do is trust the process. I'll be here, right by your side, holding your hand when it gets tough, distracting you when it helps. And I promise, at the end of this arduous process, there will be a baby so precious to us, we'll both declare that it was all worth it. No matter what, I'm here to support you. Which one do you want at your bedside? Husband A or husband B? Which type of parent do you think your children want when they embark on a writing project? Kids everywhere have to write. They all complain about it. That's no excuse. I have things to do. Now you get in there and write 3 sentences. They had better be written by the time I get back. I don't care that you hate writing. You just have to do it. Or, kids everywhere have struggled to put pen to paper while thinking of things to write. You're just like them. It's okay. I'll be here with you, holding your hand, helping you think about what to say, how to say it, and reminding you of what you want to write so that you can get your wonderful thoughts out onto the page. We'll do as much as we can today and take it up again tomorrow. I'm here to help. At the end, the writing product will be so worth it. You'll see. Which one do you want? Remember, don't minimize pain or misinterpret it as laziness. Usually the dawdling and whinging, love that word, is more about a lack of support in the process. Remind your child that the pain they feel is legitimate and natural, and that there are ways through the jungle to the other side. Remind them that you are their companion for the journey. You've got tips and tricks to help, and that you don't mind at all. That's a great place to start. Quote of the day. Thank you for sharing 4 exclamation points. Way new perspective, and I have been trying to find a better way to give support and courage than the husband A way. Hannah Cole. Sustaining thought. What you say is important, but how you say it is essential. So, this is an analogy I've used in conferences. Many of you may have seen it on our DVD series, and now I've written it and shared it on the blog, on Facebook, in a book. We all know the experience of needing comfort when we feel desperate or in pain, when we're worried about something we've done wrong, when we're not living up to somebody's expectations. What is the response you long for? When I was 16, my dad bought me a car. Yes, we were that kind of family. I got a brand new car on my 16th birthday. And I promptly drove it into a fire truck 3 months later. I was leaving my house on my way to tutor, by the way, tutor a child. It was Southern California. The light was coming through the windshield. there was dust on my windshield. And when there's light and dust on a windshield, it's hard to see through. So I turned on the sprinklers for the windshield. And then I flipped on the wipers. And my eyes started following the wipers. And at the moment where I realized I wasn't looking through the windshield, I opened and saw through, and what was in front of me but the back end of a parked fire truck 5 feet in front of me. Bam! I just plowed right into that fire truck, nearly totaled my car. I ran home because I was literally around the block from home, and my father, who always drove home early to avoid California, Los Angeles traffic, was already home. It was like 4 in the afternoon. I ran home, and my dad was in the house, and I said, "Oh my gosh, Dad, I've ruined the car. I crashed into a fire truck," and I was bawling. And you know what he said to me? He said, "Oh, sweetie, oh my goodness, are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm fine, but my car." He's like, "It's okay, we'll fix the car. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened." He gave me a huge hug. I mean, is that not the best ever? I can't even say I did that for my own child when he got in an accident. But that is what we really want. And even with my own child, who I was upset at for getting in a wreck, as I was having the moment of experience of not being kind, I stopped and I remembered what my own father had given me. And I regrouped and offered sympathy and support, because what child deliberately goes out to wreck a car? None. What child deliberately resists riding when they haven't already had horrible experiences? Most children want to play with a pen or a pencil at some point. They want to be able to write their name. When they get to the point where they don't want to do it anymore, something bad has preceded that moment. There's been an instance of shame over misspelling, or the pencil is hard to hold, or it's been challenging to get the shape of the letters right. There's been a discouragement or a frustration or a pain point that is now tied to writing. And if you resist that, if you attack it, if you treat it as somehow abnormal or wrong or bad, all you're doing is deepening the pain, right? If we take our labor example again, one of the things you know if you were fortunate enough to have a natural childbirth is that the breathing techniques do help. Getting in a warm tub of water does help. Rocking in a rocking chair and walking around your apartment helps. Being strapped to a bed with, monitors doesn't help, even though those monitors are keeping track of very important information. So think of it this way. Your job for a writer is not life or death. No baby is at stake. No car is at stake. Literally nothing is at stake. You do not have to be a monitor strapping your child to the bed of education. You can be the jacuzzi that this laboring child gets to sit in, to feel all of those nerve endings unwind, to be in the warmth of your care. That can be the experience of a struggling writer in your presence. You can provide breathing, shoulder rubs, compassionate words, offers of support, and even the recognition that writing is hard. It is hard to get to our interiors and externalize language. You know how I know you know this? Because so many of you write me emails saying, "I'm going to be intimidated writing to you right now because you're an English person and you might notice my bad spelling or my poor grammar," which, by the way, I couldn't care less about. You can write me in Pig Latin and I will welcome your communication. That's what we can provide to our kids. We can provide them with the experience of being received as they are, because nothing is at stake. Yeah, you're thinking education is at stake? I'll tell you how to ruin their education. Make them hate writing. If you're worried about their education, just get them to hate writing. that will make it very hard for them to pursue higher education. A lot of times I have parents come to me and they say things like, I'm so embarrassed. We've neglected writing. My child is 13, 15, 17, and I really haven't made them do it yet. And do you know what I say to those parents? Thank you for not allowing your children to hate writing. Neglect is far superior to creating a resistant child. It is, because at any stage along the way, a non-resistant child can be jump-started right into writing. It is not that difficult once they have the skill of reading and the skill of using a pencil or typing. So if you've put it off, if you've neglected it, if somehow you forgot to capture their great words on the page for them, or you've been too intimidated to really use some format that you thought they had to have in third grade, well, no big deal. As we say in Arabic, barakallah. Thank you. Tabarakallah. Like literally, it's okay. I thank you for leaving them without pain, because now we can jump in and value the thought and get it to the page. We can help them learn to write, because now you're going to do it in a way that honors the person, that gives them the opportunity to explore and expand who they are into written expression. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, my child just doesn't hate it, but he's kind of bored and he doesn't commit very much energy. Yeah, of course, that's natural too. And we are not all up for every educational opportunity that is presented to us. Sometimes we really are distracted by our own personal interests. And that's just usual. That's just human. It's at those moments that you have a wonderful conversation with your child and you say something along the lines of, we're working on your education. We've put writing to the side in favor of all your curiosities over here in these areas. And you've become an expert Minecraft player, and your math is so on track, and I love your fascination with geology and the way we have so much fun hunting for fossils. These are all so wonderful, and poetry tea time is going so well. The one area I'm noticing that we avoid collectively, you and me, is writing. What do you want to do about it? How shall we approach that? And have a conversation. Treat it like it's an objective you share, not an objective you're going to do to your child. All children want to grow up to be proficient, successful adults. And they are completely aware that the world of adulthood includes math, writing, reading, and performing in a job. They know this. This is not a mystery religion. It's the truth of their experience. They'll fight you and say, I'm not going to need writing, I'm an engineer. And you can show them instantly that engineers have to write emails, that they have to write directions, that they have to write, entire project summaries for somebody to approve or disapprove. It isn't difficult to demonstrate that writing is used in absolutely every field any child wants to go into. So demonstrate it in a cheerful tone. Say, I know it's not like you're going to write the great American novel and be an engineer, but having proficient communication skills is actually a job essential in every field today. And you know what? You can even tell them my own experience. I was just with all these businesses who have, contractors working for them, whether it's installing flooring or putting in this special industrial protective stuff for some federal regulation. And the number one thing they all said today is when they're hiring, they look for people with powerful communication skills, like more than adequate, because it's not just about doing the task. It's the ability to relate to customers, to talk to clients, to do customer service, to make presentations. Everybody is using language all the time. That's what the internet has done to us. We are forever, all of us, writers, orators, and public presenters. So those skills are critical, and we want our kids to have them, and they can use things like the internet to help them get those skills. Oops, I just bungled that. Right? And we can use their passions to help them find the relevance that may be missing right now. Make sense? Yeah, neglect is better than resistance. Absolutely. Hey, Teresa, glad you made it live. Hi, Ellie and Donna and Amy. A whole bunch of you are just hopping on. I'm going to read some of these comments. Looks like Antonia wrote us a nice long one. I appreciated how you posted your daughter's homeschool poem without proper capitalization. Besides being a poem I love, I appreciated the maybe unintentional reminder that original voice is what's important here. So Johanna made that choice to leave all of the punctuation out except when she wanted it. And she made it lowercase. It's a childlike poem, even though she was 21 when she wrote it. In fact, E.E. Cummings uses no capitalization. You know? So think about that. Think about the fact that you can make punctuation choices that are counter to standard grammar expectations for written language in most contexts. Poetry allows you to do that, but so does fiction. And there's actually an active academic debate in the world of writing about why we don't allow people to do that in academia or in standard publishing like journalism. And some of the people side with the idea of artistic license, that a writer should have the freedom to make punctuation choices that underscore what their communication is intending to be, regardless of audience. How about that? I remember reading one time, and I wish I could remember which author. She used to send in her typed manuscripts to her editor with a cover sheet of commas, and then she would put a Post-it note on it that said, distribute at will. She was acknowledging that in the end, she wouldn't have punctuation control over her own work, that an editor in a publishing company was going to make the ultimate decisions about what was correct. Punctuation is a convention. It's not a set of rules. The practices change generation to generation. What was common for Shakespeare is no longer viable for us. What they do in Britain, they don't do in America. What they do in Australia is different again. So these are not hard and fast rules. They are conventions we teach so that our children are familiar with what the standard forms are that are acceptable depending on the audience. And of course, you know, I'm a huge fan of saying on Facebook, I don't care how you spell. I don't even care if you misuse punctuation. There is a lot of attention on proving whether or not you're educated based on how well you use grammar and punctuation. I say ignore all that and look at the idea. Hear the voice. Understand what is being communicated. Is it possible that sometimes punctuation and grammar are telling us something? Well, what might they tell us? They don't tell us that someone's stupid. They might tell us that the education they had was not adequate to get them to the standard American usage or the standard British usage. What that needs to speak to us isn't anger or despising or even condescension and smugness. It's, an alertness to a lack in our education system, that we have not successfully brought about this rigorous understanding of all the varieties of English, all the Englishes, all the voices we can write in. That's what we're trying to do in homeschool. We're trying to remedy that, not hold people under a microscope or a magnifying glass and go, aha, proof that this isn't working. No, it's the other way around. It's an awareness of how many different kinds of educations there are and what that represents in a person's outlook on the world. If you have a limited understanding of all the ways to use language, you're going to have a limited understanding of all the ways there are to see the world. Because every time we open the door to another point of view, even if it's something like in poetry we use punctuation this way, in academia we use it this way, in journalism we use it this way, we have now just introduced 3 different voices, 3 different ways of communicating. And that opens you automatically, expands your view of the world, creates more capacity for empathy, for bridges of understanding. Isn't that what we're all about? I mean, I don't know about you, but when I took on the task of homeschooling, my goal was to make a big world for my children, not a smaller one. I wanted them to have more access, not less. I wanted them to be more compassionate, more whole, not narrower and more scrupulous. That was my goal. You could have a different one, but that's kind of the point here when we're talking then, going back to how you say it matters. How you say it really does matter. And it's not because there's a way of saying it that is going to always protect everyone's ego or everyone's reputation or everyone's understanding. It's that we should be going for maximum awareness of what the other person is going through when we express ourselves. That to me is the enlightened position. Maximum awareness, the ability to reach over there, stand behind the eyes of another person and inhabit their experience for a few moments. And our children give us daily practice, don't they? They come up with the strangest reactions to things and we're like instantly like, on tilt. Where did that come from? Why are you melting down over the fact that you have two socks and you think one goes on one foot and one goes on the other? I mean, have you ever watched a 3-year-old? The things that freak them out. You know, they're walking into a room and a chair is in the middle of the room and they're like, they melt down because they have to walk around the chair. And you can't understand why that creates a meltdown. Me either. So what you can provide is compassion. Oh my gosh, what a shock. There's a chair. Oh, come here. Let me hug you. I mean, we don't always have the, wherewithal ourselves. We need someone else to do that for us. Oh my gosh, you have 3 children melting down. I'm so sorry, honey. We want someone to hug us when we're in that state too. Like, oh, how did I end up with 3 melting down children in one evening? Right? So there's all those levels. There's all those levels going on at all times. So in the writing task, let's be husband B, coach B, the one who is at least acknowledging that when pain shows up, it deserves comfort, not scorn. Right? When pain shows up, it deserves comfort, not scorn. It's not a verdict about you. Their pain is not about you. You know, my car accident wasn't about my dad. Doesn't mean he was a terrible driving teacher. It was about me. It was about my immaturity. It was about being 16. It was about Southern California, right? It was all those things. And a little bit about how bad a driver I was, and they've changed the rules. Like, we didn't have to do nearly the driving hours that kids today have to do when I was learning to drive. And I would have benefited from another 40 hours of practice. Absolutely. So I'm one of the reasons California changed all that. Yeah, absolutely. What do we got going on here? What else have you got? Compassion and grace for your 3-year-old is your goal for this homeschool year. Karen Jansen. Very good. Very, very good. What else have we got going here? I want to see what else you have. Yes. When pain shows up, it deserves comfort, not scorn. Exactly. Oh, Susie, that's so nice. She says she needs to take notes during these videos. Well, here's the good news. They don't go anywhere. We leave them on Facebook, so you can go back and watch them again. And we also post them to YouTube. So if you have non-Facebook friends who you think would benefit from these readings and these discussions, send them to YouTube. It's perfect. Works great. All right, then. Live honestly, write bravely, and give comfort to pain. I'm Julie Bogart from Brave Writer. Love you all.